Cheating wife said it was just flirty texts, then I found hotel photos, steamy messages, and her calling me a beta behind my back. So I walked out and took everything. Part 1, the calm before the storm. Hey Reddit. I've been lurking here for years, never thought I'd be posting. But here I am, hollowed out, typing this with shaking hands and a pit in my stomach. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, 32F, for 6 years, together for 8. We met in college, dated a few years, moved in together, then got married when things felt stable. She was the smart, no-nonsense type with a sharp tongue, but I liked that about her. She kept me grounded, or so I thought. Our relationship had its normal ups and downs, but nothing I'd call bad. We'd argue sometimes, usually when I was working late or she thought I wasn't ambitious enough, but I chalked that up to stress. I work in IT, she's in marketing, and we don't have kids, thank God. Lately though, things started to feel off. She became distant. Cold. Always on her phone, more than usual. She used to leave it around the house freely, now it was glued to her hand like a lifeline. If it buzzed while I was nearby, she'd flip it over like a reflex. I'd ask who she was texting and she'd just roll her eyes and say, "You don't need to know everything I do, control freak." Which was weird because I'm not, or at least, I didn't think I was. She started going out more too. Supposedly with coworkers, team dinners, or late meetings. She'd come back smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. I know how that sounds, maybe I was being paranoid. That's what I kept telling myself. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I mentioned it to a friend once, just in passing, and he laughed and said I was being insecure. That women have their own lives too. So I tried to let it go. Big mistake. Part 2, suspicion starts to creep in. It's weird how your gut knows before your brain catches up. The signs were all there, but I kept brushing them aside because the idea of her cheating felt so out of character, or maybe I just didn't want to admit that I married someone capable of that. Anyway, things started getting weirder. She started dressing up more, not in a "hey, I'm doing this for me" way, but in a way that didn't match what she said she was doing. Heels forward, just grabbing a drink with the girls. Full face of makeup for a quick Target run. That kind of stuff. One night I asked if I could come with her to one of these so-called work happy hours, just trying to be part of her life, right? She got super defensive. Told me it was just for coworkers and I wouldn't get it and that I'd ruin the vibe. I let it go, but man, that was the first time I really felt like something was being hidden from me. Then came the lies. Little things at first. Like saying she went to dinner with coworkers but coming home with takeout containers from a place across town. Or saying she was with her friend Amy, but then I ran into Amy at the grocery store the next day and she had no idea what I was talking about. When I brought that up, my wife said Amy must have forgotten and then launched into this rant about how I never trust her and how exhausting it is to be interrogated all the time. She flipped it so hard that I ended up apologizing. Classic gaslighting, I realize now. At the time, I thought maybe I was losing it. But the truth has a funny way of showing itself when you're not even looking for it. Part 3, the accident that changed everything. So here's where the universe decided to stop being subtle. About 3 weeks ago, she left her phone at home. Total accident. I think she was in a rush or distracted, but either way, she forgot it on the kitchen counter while heading out to brunch with coworkers. I stared at it for a solid 10 minutes. I wasn't the type to snoop. Never had been. But that phone had become like some kind of glowing orb of mystery, and I knew, deep down, that if I looked, I wouldn't like what I found. Still, I cracked. Curiosity and that gnawing feeling in my gut won. First, her messages were cleared out, like, literally nothing but her mom and 2 coworkers. That was weird. She used to text me constantly when we first started dating. Yeah? It was like a sterile wasteland. But then I opened Instagram. She hadn't logged out. DMs. So many DMs. There was one guy, his name was saved as James Snake, and their convo thread was disgusting. Like, I'm talking full-blown sexting, talking about hotels, sneaking around, laughing about me. Screenshots of my texts. Her calling me clingy. Him calling me a beta. I actually had to stop reading at one point because I felt like I was going to puke. One message hit harder than the rest. Can't wait till I'm out of this house and don't have to fake it anymore. He's so clueless. Face with ears of joy. Clueless. That word stuck. Because I had been. Totally clueless. Trusting. Stupid. I put the phone down and just sat there on the kitchen floor like some rejected sitcom husband, wondering how long this had been going on and how much of my marriage had been fake. She came back an hour later, humming, holding a mimosa to-go cup. And I just stared at her, holding her phone in my hand. Part 4, it's not what you think. She walks in the door like it's any other Sunday. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, her phone in front of me, open like a loaded weapon. She stops mid-step when she sees it, her smile dropping so fast it's almost comical. "What are you doing?" she says, already defensive. I don't say anything at first. Just look her dead in the eye and ask, "Who's James?" Her face changes. And not in a guilty, caught red-handed kind of way. No, it's the offended kind. Like I've done something wrong. Like I've invaded her sacred privacy. She storms over, tries to grab the phone, but I pull it away. I tell her I saw the messages. All of them. Her tone shifts instantly from defensive to dismissive. It's not what you think, she says, crossing her arms. I actually laughed. Out loud. Because what could that possibly mean? It's not what you think? Lady, I saw you say you're tired of faking a marriage with me. I saw you make plans to meet this guy at a hotel downtown. She rolls her eyes and says, fine. We flirt. It's not like we slept together. We'll come back to that lie later. Then she does what cheaters do best, she flips the script. You've been so distant lately. You work all the time. You don't even notice when I get my hair done. James actually listens to me. Maybe if you paid attention I wouldn't have to talk to someone else. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She cheats and somehow I'm the problem? I just sat there stunned. She paced the room, going on about how she felt trapped and how I don't challenge her anymore and how James makes her feel alive. Alive. So apparently betraying your spouse is a wellness routine now. She finally stopped and said, I didn't want you to find out like this. But maybe it's for the best. Like that was supposed to soften the blow. Part 5, Cracks in the Foundation. After that conversation, if you can even call it that, I felt like the ground under me had cracked wide open. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage, about her, was shattered. She didn't cry. Didn't apologize. Not even a flicker of real remorse. Just this cold, detached attitude like she was already mentally out the door. She said she was sorry it happened this way and then had the audacity to ask if I needed space. I didn't even know how to respond. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat on the edge of the bed while she slept on the couch, her choice, not mine, and my brain played every moment of our relationship in reverse like I was trying to spot the second things went wrong. Was it the late nights at work? The business trips? The time I forgot our anniversary last year? Was it me being boring or comfortable, her favorite insults whenever she felt spicy? But here's the thing, I gave her everything. I cooked, cleaned, worked full-time, bought her flowers randomly, always remembered the little things she liked. I wasn't perfect, sure, but I showed up for her. And somehow that wasn't enough. I kept thinking, how long has she been checked out? How many dinners did we have while she was secretly texting him under the table? How many of those team outings were actually just hotel nights? That's the part that gutted me the most, not just the betrayal, but realizing she'd been lying to my face while I was out here fighting to keep our life together. My heart wasn't just broken, it felt like it had been stomped on and thrown out the window. Part 6, How deep does the rabbit hole go? The next morning, I couldn't just sit with what little I knew. I had to dig deeper. Not because I wanted to torture myself, though that's pretty much what ended up happening, but because I needed to understand. Needed to know just how far this went. So I started going through whatever I could. Emails, social media, bank statements. And man, once I pulled that thread, the whole thing unraveled. She'd been meeting up with this guy at James the Snake for at least 4 months. Hotels, bars, even a weekend work retreat that was actually a trip to the coast with him. I found a charge for a spa day at a place she claimed she won in a raffle at work. Lie. I found an Uber receipt that picked her up nowhere near her office one night she said she had to stay late. Another lie. I even found an old backup of her phone on our shared iCloud account, rookie mistake on her part, and there it was photos. Her in a hotel robe. Her kissing him in what looked like a parking garage. Her sending mirror selfies to him while I was in the house in the other room. It was like a highlight reel of betrayal. But the worst part? She mocked me in her messages. This idiot thinks I'm at yoga. He just made me dinner. Faced with years of joy, I couldn't keep a straight face. I told him I was tired, lol. Meanwhile, I'll spare you the rest. Every screenshot felt like a dagger. Every lie peeled back a version of her I didn't even recognize. She wasn't just cheating, she was thriving in the deception. Loving the thrill. Laughing at me like I was some kind of sitcom punchline. And what made it so much worse was that I loved her. Completely. Fully. Never strayed. Never even looked at another woman. Meanwhile, she was treating our life like a costume she put on in between her real adventures. I felt used. Discarded. Like the stable placeholder she kept around while she went off and lived her real life. Part 7, she couldn't lie her way out this time. So the next evening I waited until she got home. I had screenshots printed out. Actual physical copies. I know, I could have just shown her on my phone or laptop, but I wanted her to feel it, like the weight of every single lie in her own hands. She walked in, all casual, like she hadn't detonated our marriage 2 days earlier. I told her we needed to talk. She sighed like I was inconveniencing her and plopped down on the couch. That's when I dropped the folder of screenshots on the coffee table. She didn't even reach for them right away. Just kind of stared at them like they were radioactive. I told her I had seen everything. The photos. The messages. The receipts. All of it. No more games, no more vague, we flirt excuses. Time to come clean. Her first reaction? She laughed. Like a short, smug laugh, like she'd just been caught sneaking a cookie before dinner and thought I was being ridiculous. Oh my God, she said. You actually went full Psycho X. That was the moment I knew there was nothing left to save. No remorse. No shame. No panic. She didn't try to explain or cry or beg. She just shrugged and said, well, guess the cat's out of the bag now. Then she started minimizing it. saying things like, "It wasn't serious. You were boring me and I needed something exciting." He made me feel like I was 20 again. "It's not like I don't love you, I just needed variety." Variety. She talked about our marriage like it was a streaming service she'd gotten tired of binging. Like I was a subscription she was planning to cancel unless I added new features. At one point, she even said, "You're being so dramatic. People cheat all the time." That's when I stood up, walked to the bedroom, grabbed a duffel bag, and started packing. I didn't yell. Didn't curse. Didn't cry. I just told her, "You broke something that can't be fixed. I'm done." She watched me like she didn't believe I'd actually leave. Part 8. Walking away even when it hurts like hell. Packing that duffel bag felt surreal. I wasn't grabbing vacation stuff or heading out on a work trip, I was leaving my own home, the life I built with someone I thought I'd grow old with. Every shirt I folded felt like a funeral. She followed me down the hallway, arms crossed, not saying a word at first. Just watching like she expected me to cool off and drop the act. When I zipped up the bag, she finally spoke. "You're really leaving? Over this? Over this?" I turned and looked at her, this woman I didn't recognize anymore, and said, "It's not just one thing. It's all the things. The lies. The laughing behind my back. The way you made me feel small and stupid while you played pretend. I deserve better." She rolled her eyes, muttered something about how I was being overly emotional, and went back to scrolling her phone. That was it. "No, please stay. No, I messed up. No fight for our marriage." I got in my car and drove. I didn't have a plan, just an urgent need to get away. I ended up at my brother's place. He lives about 30 minutes away. Told him everything. He didn't even hesitate. Gave me his spare key, a beer, and a couch to crash on. That night, I sat there in the dark living room, surrounded by the low hum of his fridge and my own racing thoughts. I kept checking my phone, half expecting some kind of message from her. A text. A call. Something. Nothing. She didn't care that I left. Or if she did, she buried it under the same smug indifference she'd been wearing like armor. I broke down at around 2 a.m. Just full on sobbing. The kind of cry that comes from somewhere deep in your gut, the kind you can't fake and can't stop once it starts. I wasn't crying over losing her. I was crying over losing the version of her I thought was real. The life I thought I had. The future I thought we were building. That's the kind of grief no one prepares you for. Part 9. Damage control and the rewrite of history. The first few days after I left were rough. Like walking through molasses emotionally. Everything was numb and raw at the same time. I stayed at my brother's place, barely ate, barely slept. Just existed. And then the text started. Not from her, well, not at first, but from mutual friends. Confused ones. "Hey, I heard you and Sarah are taking a break?" Or, "She told me you stormed out after a fight." A fight? I hadn't said anything to anyone yet, but apparently she had. And surprise, she'd already started rewriting the story. She told people I was controlling, that I blew up over nothing, that we were already drifting apart, and she'd just been trying to find herself. She made it sound like I was some emotionally unstable guy who left her out of the blue because I couldn't handle a rough patch. One friend, who used to be mine before she monopolized the social circle, actually texted me, "You need to chill. Relationships take work. You're acting immature." I was stunned. Immature? I sent back one photo. Just one of the screenshots. No explanation. No rage. Just facts. He didn't reply after that. Then she finally reached out. One message. "I think we should talk like adults. You can't just run away from a marriage when things get hard." I stared at that for a solid minute. Hard? Lady, you weren't going through a rough patch. You were having a damn affair in 4K. I didn't reply. Instead, I started blocking. Her number. Socials. Everything. I wasn't going to give her a stage to keep twisting things. I was finally realizing that walking away was just the first step. Staying away was going to take real strength. Especially when she was busy playing the victim while I sat in the rubble of the life she torched. Part 10. Trying to find my footing again. After blocking her and going dark for a few days, I thought I'd feel better. Like I'd taken back some control. But honestly, I felt like a ghost. Just floating through life with no anchor. I went back to work. Tried to pretend like things were normal. But it was rough. I'd stare at emails without reading them. Got asked in a meeting if I was okay. And all I could manage was, "Just tired," which was technically true. Tired of everything. Nights were the worst. The silence hit harder when I wasn't distracted. I'd lie on my brother's pull-out couch staring at the ceiling, wondering how the hell I ended up here. I'd go through this mental loop of blaming her, then blaming myself, then just feeling empty. Therapy was something I used to roll my eyes at. But after the third night of no sleep and borderline panic attacks, I booked a session through a local clinic. The therapist was calm, non-judgmental, just asked me what happened, and when I started talking, I didn't stop for almost an hour. It was like uncorking a bottle. I realized how much of myself I'd lost in the marriage. Constantly trying to keep the peace, meet her expectations, fix things she wouldn't even admit were broken. I'd been in survival mode for so long that I hadn't noticed how emotionally starved I'd become. I also realized I wasn't angry enough yet. Not really. The sadness was still sitting like a boulder on my chest. But under it, there was this ember. The kind of anger that comes from being lied to, gaslit, mocked, and discarded like a used tissue. That anger, it was starting to wake up. And weirdly, that made me feel a little bit alive again. Part 11, Boundaries, finally. By week 2, something in me started to shift. I wasn't sleeping like a zombie on the couch anymore. I was waking up and making my own breakfast again. Not because I was hungry, but because I needed to do something normal. I started running again too. Not far, but just enough to feel my body working. It helped more than I expected. Then came the inevitable. She showed up. Yep, just showed up at my brother's place one night, uninvited. She rang the doorbell like she was delivering a package. I saw her through the peephole and every muscle in my body locked up. My brother looked at me like, "Do you want me to handle this?" But I opened the door. She was wearing this fake sad face, mascara a little too perfectly smudged, like she was trying to look devastated for a soap opera audition. She said, "Can we talk?" In this voice that used to melt me, and for a second I almost let my guard down. But then I remembered James Snake, and the hotel, and the parking garage kiss, and how she laughed at me behind my back. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me and said, "We're not doing this. You made your choice." She got emotional, crocodile tears. Tried to spin it again. Said she didn't mean to hurt me. Said she missed me. Said she wasn't thinking straight. I told her I wasn't interested in hearing any more lies. That we were done. That the only communication going forward would be through lawyers. Which was a bluff at the time. We hadn't even started the divorce talk yet. But damn, it felt good to say. She called me cold. I just said, "Funny. I used to be warm. Before you." Then I turned around and walked back inside. She stood there for a second, then left without another word. And just like that, for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt in control. Not over her. Not over the situation. But over myself. Part 12, Making It Real. A few days after the doorstep showdown, I scheduled a consultation with a divorce attorney. It felt weird even saying the word divorce out loud. Like I was stepping into a version of my life I never wanted to imagine. But here we were. The lawyer was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who'd clearly seen every kind of heartbreak under the sun. She listened to my story without flinching, nodded a lot, asked a few sharp questions, then said, "You're not the first guy she's fooled. But you don't have to be the last one she hurts." That hit me hard. We didn't have kids, no shared business, and the house was in my name, thank God. The lawyer looked over the financials and said this should be a clean break, barring any surprises. I asked what to do if my wife refused to sign. She smiled and said we don't need her permission to leave. Just her signature to finish. Powerful stuff. I left that office with a manila folder and a pit in my stomach, but also a weird sense of calm. Like someone had handed me a map through this hellcape. I wasn't out yet, but I had direction. I didn't tell her right away. I wanted to have everything lined up first. But when I did, when I finally texted her and said, "You'll be served this week. I'm moving forward," the reply came fast. "Seriously? After everything we've been through?" I didn't answer. I didn't owe her more energy. That night, I opened a new bank account in just my name. Transferred my paycheck. Canceled the shared Netflix. Blocked her again. She'd started making new accounts. Felt like slicing tiny invisible threads that had kept me bound to her life, one by one. And with every cut, I felt lighter. Part 13, Her mask starts to slip. After I filed, it was like a dam broke. She started popping up everywhere. Not physically, thank God, but online, through friends, even through mutuals I hadn't talked to in years. The messages went from passive-aggressive to full-blown manipulative. "I made a mistake, but you're being cruel. You said you'd love me forever. Was that a lie too? We can fix this. Don't throw away 8 years." The nerve. She threw it away. She set it on fire and danced in the ashes. But I wasn't falling for it this time. Meanwhile, I was making actual moves. I found a temporary apartment, nothing fancy, just a quiet one-bedroom that didn't have her ghost in every corner. I bought a new set of dishes, a new bedspread, even a damn toaster. Little things. But it helped. It made the space mine. Therapy started to feel less like a bandage and more like actual healing. I was unpacking years of stuff I hadn't even realized I'd buried. The way she chipped at my confidence made me feel less than without even raising her voice. Death by 1,000 passive-aggressive cuts. My brother told me I looked different. Lighter. Taller. Then came the kicker. James, her little snake emoji lover, ghosted her. I didn't find out from her. I heard it through the grapevine, mutual friend who switched sides after I shared the truth. Apparently once her fun, forbidden fling turned into real-life consequences, James lost interest. Classic. She tried to get him back. He ignored her. That's when her messages to me turned desperate. Can we please talk? I'm so lost. I don't even know who I am without you. I messed up. Please just don't hate me. That last one almost got me. Almost. But then I remembered how she looked at me while I held the proof of her lies in my hands, how she laughed. How she called me psycho for caring. And suddenly I didn't feel sorry for her anymore. I just felt done. Part 14, The End of Us. It took a couple more weeks, but eventually she signed the divorce papers. No courtroom drama. No drawn-out negotiations. Just a few tense emails from her side asking about splitting the furniture, which I let her have most of. I didn't care anymore. I just wanted it done. And then one day it was. I got the final confirmation email from my lawyer at 9:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. I sat there staring at the screen for a full minute, not even blinking. Then I exhaled, not a big movie scene sigh of relief. Just a quiet, heavy breath I didn't realize I'd been holding for months. We were legally strangers again. I didn't celebrate. No champagne, no Instagram announcement. Just went for a long walk, turned my phone off, and let myself feel it. The grief. The relief. The confusion. The weird silence in my head now that the noise was gone. And yeah, I cried a little. Not for her, not anymore. But for the version of me who loved her. Who tried. Who believed in something that turned out to be smoke and mirrors. That guy didn't deserve what happened to him. But he walked away. And that's something. That night I cooked a simple dinner in my little apartment: pasta, garlic bread, glass of red wine. Put on a playlist I used to like before she rolled her eyes at my emo indie phase. Sat down, lit a candle and said cheers. Just to myself. It wasn't victory, but it was peace. And that was enough. Part 15. What I learned, and what I'd tell anyone going through this. So yeah, that's my story. It still feels surreal sometimes. Like I was living one life, and someone pulled the rug out and handed me a completely different script. But here's what I've learned. 1. Your gut is usually right. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Don't gaslight yourself into thinking you're crazy just because someone you trust tells you that you are. That quiet discomfort in your chest? That's your intuition trying to save your sanity. 2. People who love you don't mock you behind your back. They don't betray you, then blame you. They don't laugh in your face while they lie. Love isn't perfect, but it's not cruel. If someone shows you that they don't respect you, believe them. 3. Leaving is hard, but staying in a lie is worse. The scariest part was the first step out the door. After that, every move I made brought me closer to myself again. I didn't just lose her. I found me again. 4. Protect your peace like it's sacred. Because it is. I didn't realize how much chaos I'd normalized. The mood swings, the control, the eggshells. Now that it's quiet in my life, I finally understand what real peace feels like, and I'll never settle for less again. 5. Healing isn't linear. Some days still suck. Some memories sneak up and punch me in the gut. But the difference now, I let them come, I feel them, and then I let them go. I'm not stuffing anything down anymore. If you're reading this and you're where I was, confused, hurting, second-guessing yourself, let me be the voice I wish I had. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not overreacting. You're waking up. You're seeing clearly. And you deserve better. Even if it hurts like hell, even if it feels like your world is ending, trust me, it's just beginning. Thanks for reading. Seriously, if even one person feels less alone because of this, then it was worth writing. Stay strong out there. You've got this. A guy who finally walked away.